Welcome back into the lunch break here on KDUS AM 1060. What felt like it was going to be just a run-of-the-mill Tuesday edition of the show where we recap the Suns' big win last night. We talked a little NFL draft. We got you ready for the baseball season. I've decided to break up my predictions into 2 days, so we'll do the American League predictions today on the show. We'll do the National League predictions tomorrow on the show. And thought it was just going to be a normal Tuesday show. Diamondbacks threw all of that into a state of chaos here, and so that's led us to be nearly 40 minutes into the program here today, and we have not touched on or discussed the Phoenix Suns and their win last night over the Milwaukee Bucks. A win that stretched their winning streak to 4 games, pushed them to winners of 5 in their last 6, and they are now just a half game back of the 9 seed in the Western Conference play-in tournament. And on a night where Anthony Davis came back and the Mavs were able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, you were able to keep pace because you beat a Milwaukee team. And I said it in the tease earlier in the show, that the Suns followed up their best win of the season with their best win of the season. Because to me, it's one thing on Friday night, you're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they either underestimate you or you just have a hot shooting night, and you're in control of the game, right? You're always in the driver's seat of that game through 4 quarters. That's one way to win a basketball game. But then there's the back and forth. There's the game that has the ebbs and flows. There's the game that comes down to the final possessions in the final minute of that game. And if that was the script that we knew was going to play out last night, I don't know if I would have picked the Suns to beat the Bucks. An increase in the competition. You're playing a Bucks team that's 5th in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if I'd pick you to win that game. I don't know if I'd pick you to win a match where you're just trading blows back and forth for 4 quarters. I don't know if you had the makeup to win that game. I'd at least have questioned it. Now, you play that game against Chicago. You play that game against Toronto. You play that game against Utah or New Orleans. And I know that these are some examples of the Suns not doing this against these teams. But that back and forth, I can pick you in those games because you've got more talent. I'll take Kevin Durant and Devin Booker over what the Jazz have or what the Pelicans have or what the Raptors have. I'll take that bet. And in those types of games, talent rises to the occasion. Talent comes through in those big moments. You have one of the best NBA players in the history of the game on the other side in Giannis. You have one of the top 3-5 players in the NBA right now across from you. You have a guy who, it probably ticked you off last night watching the game because he doesn't need to do this, but gets away with everything. He gets away with everything in that game. Delay of game, kind of blocking the ball after he dunks it, hooking guys, kind of throwing an elbow a little bit at Devin Booker there late in the 4th quarter. Just gets away with everything. Gets a superstar treatment. And it bothers you watching that game. Because I know it bothered me because you're watching it going, dude, you are one of the most gifted athletes on the planet. You don't have to do any of this stuff. Your natural raw ability, your natural raw talent is good enough that you can dominate this basketball game. And you saw it when he was out on the floor last night for the Bucks. They were a totally different offense. They didn't have Damian Lillard last night. And so it has to be a lot of Giannis. And then it's a lot of Gary Trent Jr. And so I wouldn't have picked you to win that game if I knew it was going to be a back and forth trading blows for 4 quarters. But the Phoenix Suns rose to the occasion last night. The Phoenix Suns matched blow for blow the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis. And when it came down to it, it was Kevin Durant who hit a big shot. It was Devin Booker who hit the ultimate big shot. And they had some key contributions along the way. And I don't know if you were like me watching that game last night, but watching Kevin Durant foul Kyle Kuzma on the 3, leading to a 4-point play, there was part of me that felt like that was going to be the moment. That was going to be the play that defined this game. Because you knew it was only going to be one play. You knew with how close that game was, with how back and forth these two teams were playing, it was going to come down to who made the critical mistake. Who made the play that gave a team an additional possession or missed a shot or which role player stepped up and hit a big shot. Ryan Dunn hit a big three in that game last night. I want to talk more about Ryan Dunn because I think this stretch for Ryan Dunn, and last night was kind of the exclamation point on it, I think puts Ryan Dunn in a different bucket. And I'll explain what I mean by that a little bit later on here in the program. But you were waiting to see who would make the big mistake. And you wondered if that big mistake was the 4-point play given up by Kevin Durant. But you know what? Kevin Durant is a superstar. Kevin Durant is an all-time great. And you know what Kevin Durant does in those types of moments? He blocks out all the noise. He doesn't carry that bad defensive play, that bad defensive possession with him to the other end of the floor. Because what did he do at the other end of the floor immediately after that? Knock down a huge three-point shot. Massive three-point shot. And then it was Devin Booker with the shot that put the Suns in front. And they won that game 108-106. 4 in a row. The best stretch we've seen from this team all year. Just an all-around excellent team performance. Ryan Dunn was excellent, putting Giannis on a poster. Devin Booker, excellent in that game last night. What did he end up with assist-wise? He had a bunch in that game. Ended up with 12 assists. I thought the third quarter is one of the best energy levels you've seen from Devin Booker. Dude was flying all over the place like he was the Tasmanian devil, just making plays left and right. Any time he was on the floor in the third quarter of that game, it felt like he was running all over the place making plays. Just high effort, high intensity, making the right pass, just doing everything. The Ryan Dunn dunk on Giannis doesn't happen unless Booker's just flying out there, catching that outlet pass. I mean, it was just a perfect third quarter from Devin Booker. And then he knocks down the shot, seal the deal for the Suns in the fourth quarter, the game-winning shot with, 2.1 seconds to go to put them up 108-106. But just a huge night across the board. The 4-point play by Kyle Kuzma makes it 105-103, and you just worry that that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Suns in that game. But Kevin Durant makes a jumper with 26 seconds left, responds in a big way, puts the Suns in front. And then it's Devin Booker who takes care of business with a 19-foot mid-range shot to put the Suns in front. And, man, this team is just different. And we'll talk about it a little bit later on here in the show, trying to put our fingers on what is different about this team right now, because I think this is the confusing part for all of us. Kevin Durant's been on this team all year. Devin Booker's been on this team all year. Ryan Dunn's been on this team all year. What changed? Where was this in that middle chunk of the season? Because, remember, this team started the year great. They were 8-1 to start the year. You certainly start to get the feeling that they're going to go on a similar type stretch here to close the season. They're going to bookend their seasons with 2 incredible stretches where they look like the best team in the NBA. Remember what we said at the beginning of this 10-game stretch. This is the hardest stretch in the NBA over the final 11 games. They have 1 game on their schedule against a team that's not a playoff team the rest of the way, and they've handled the number 1 seeded Cavs and a really good Milwaukee team that's in the mix in the Eastern Conference. And they've won both of these games. We've tried to come up with the math of getting to 37 or 38. They're at 35 right now. And with the way that they've played, if they continue to play this way, there's not a single game on this calendar, on this stretch, that you don't think they can win. They just beat the Cavs. They just beat the Bucks. Next up is the Celtics. They're at home. They're riding this home winning streak. I think it's like 6 in a row now at home. They're playing great basketball in front of their home crowd. They're going to be in front of their home crowd again tomorrow night when they take on the Celtics. Celtics might be without Jason Tatum. He left last night's game against the Kings with an ankle sprain. They're going to probably be very cautious with that, so I don't expect to see him in that game tomorrow night, just my guess. Everything is coming up aces for the Phoenix Suns right now. The dealer is busting on every hand of blackjack for the Phoenix Suns right now. Every single thing is going right. They won the rebounding battle last night. They had 16 turnovers. It was still a turnover-laden game for them, but you're getting the star-making performances. Your role players are stepping up. The bench was back and healthy last night. I thought Coach Bud coached one of his better games overall. You didn't see guys completely lose their minutes, right? I was concerned last night. What would Cody Martin's minutes look like, right? How involved would he be? Wasn't what he was used to, but 14 minutes. Nick Richards was back in the starting lineup, but Oso got a healthy 20 minutes, again, played 44 the night before. Tyus Jones leading that second unit. Colin Gillespie still in the starting lineup, playing 22 minutes. I mean, you had a better rotation because you had 2 extra guys that you could turn to. And again, this game is different than the Cavs game because this is back and forth. This is trading punches. And earlier in the year, you would expect this team to lose this basketball game. But last night, they responded to those punches. They responded to trading blows with the Milwaukee Bucks. And so, again, we've asked for them to give us a big enough sample size to believe. I think this is now a big enough sample size. They've won 4 in a row, and these last 2 in particular have been huge performances against really good basketball teams. Really good basketball teams. And so now they are just a half game back of the Sacramento Kings for the 9 seed, and we are going to break something out in the leftovers in hour number 2 of the show. We're going to give you a scoreboard watching guide. We're going to talk about who the Kings are playing, who the Mavs are playing, because guess what? 2 weeks ago, this season was dead and buried. Not anymore. Put everything back on the table. Put a play-in tournament back on the table. Put winning the play-in tournament, getting that 8 seed, put that back on the table if they're going to play this way. Put both of those things back on the table at this point. They're playing better than Sacramento. They're playing better than Dallas. And you know what? It's fun to watch Phoenix Suns basketball. It is fun to watch this team right now. There's energy. There are hustle plays. It's the last 4 games have been so much fun. And last night, I think, was the cherry on top with trading blow for blow. Because that's the thing that was missing from this team. How do you respond to something like that? How do you respond to being down at halftime? How do you respond to a team just sticking it out all 4 quarters? And now you have to make those big shots in the 4th quarter when it matters. Well, the Suns answered the bell. And so now you feel good about any matchup they have if this is the way that they're going to play. And they're going to have this type of confidence every single night on the floor.